Hey, I want to thank everyone who's watching this video. It means so much to me that you're watching this. Um, Today, or this month, is Sexual Harassment Month, and I have been wanting to share my story for sexual harassment for a very long time, and I have decided to share it this month. So if you're watching this, like I said, I really appreciate it. It's something that's very dear to my heart, and something that really shouldn't ever happen to women or teenagers or children. So this is my story. This is how I felt during it, after it, and even today. The person that did this to me is a family member, and I think if you have followed me, I guess, the last few years, it may start to make a little bit sense on why this person is not in my life, and I've chosen to take this person outside of my life. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my family and how I was born into my family and how I felt as a child in my family. Before I start, I just want to tell anybody that's watching this that I don't blame anybody that could have stopped it. Nobody knew until I was a freshman in high school, and then I never told my family until I was a sophomore in high school. So I just want you guys to know that if you're watching this, I don't blame anybody that could have stopped it or could have helped me earlier. The only person that I blame in this situation was the person that put me in this situation. So I don't want anyone to feel that they were to blame or blame themselves. Also, just sorry, I keep on forgetting, but also I'm not going to leave out any feelings that I've had through this. I've been hurt a lot. And I'm kind of not going to put that behind me, I guess you could say. So that's something that I will share in this video. It is going to be kind of a long video, and I hope you guys can watch it through the end and really see that this does happen to someone that you may not even expect it from. So thank you guys for watching, and this is my story. So when I was born September 4th, 1997 in Modesto, California, and I was born into a family with married parents, and I had an older sister, an older brother, and then another older brother, and they were all 14 months apart. They were all born within 2.5 years. My brother turned 4 or 5. The oldest youngest brother, he turned about 4 or 5, and my parents decided that they wanted to have one last child, and I was born. I was their little girl, I guess you can say, and because I was born and all the other kids kind of were best friends with each other, they had a special bond. They had something that I never had with them. I always end up playing Barbies, with my friends or by myself. If I ever asked them to play with me, I kind of got the cold shoulder. I'm not saying always, but that's the majority of the time. So my siblings are watching this and they're like, I remember playing with you like once or twice. I'm just saying the general. So and they were older. By the time I was 4 or 5, they were almost teenagers. They were in those pre-teens, and so I can't blame them now, but it would have been nice to, play with me more. But my sister, my oldest sister, my only sister, I don't want to say any names, sorry, and my youngest brother, the third child, they would play like G.I. Joe Jane with like Barbies and G.I. Joes, and they always seemed to have a really good time, and it was kind of their personal game that they played together. And I was never really invited as much as I really wanted to. I think I was able to like watch, but I had to be quiet. Like I couldn't, like I couldn't really join in. Nothing bad. It's nothing bad anymore. And so I would always go to my other brother and be like, hey, they're playing. Can we play something together? And one day he chose to finally say yes. And I was so happy. I was like, what can we play? I was like, I'll let you choose. I just want to play something. And it ended up being called House. And was never what I had imagined House was. I mean, I played House with my friends, and it wasn't the same house that I remember playing with them. This kind of house involved getting naked and getting on top of each other, and having him wear a condom when I was a little bit older, having him move on top of me. I don't remember if there's any fondling of breasts or little girl parts. I'm not sure. I don't remember that. I'm pretty sure that there could have been, but I'm not accusing him of doing that. But the main things that I remember him doing were, 1, we were naked, 2, he was on top of me, and 3, I do remember movement. And I remember him putting on condoms. There were times where we were in my mom and dad's closet. There were times where we were in my mom's sewing room. There were times where we were in, where else were we? I'm trying to think. Those were the 2 rooms that I really remember it, but we weren't in just one bedroom or one closet. I remember different houses. So I remember being in our Chancellor house, and I remember being in our Lake house, and I remember being in our Donner Trail house. So I kind of have a rough idea of when it started and when it ended. So I'm kind of thinking it's between the ages of 5 and 8 years old. Yes, 5 to 8 years old that my brother sexually abused me, sexually harassed me without me knowing what he was really doing. And it hurts to know that he chose to do that to his little sister, and to put his needs in front of his sister, his little sister, that you are, as a brother, you are supposed to have her back, stop boys from doing these kinds of things. And he did that to me. So fast forward a little bit, after it stopped. I'm not going to go into too much of depth of what he did, because it is just very disgusting and cruel, and why would you do that to your little sister? So now basically what it is how I've dealt with it, how I've healed, and how much but how depressed I was for so long before I finally told people. So fast forward a little bit, I think I was like 9 or 10, and I was always kind of curious. I knew that he did something to me when I was younger, but I don't really remember what it was. And so one time I went up to him and I said, hey, I went up to him and I said, do you remember, like, ever doing anything to me? Or we used to play house. Do you remember that? And he'd be like, Kelsey, yeah, we played house. You know, like, you play it with your friends. We played it together. And I was like, no, it's like a different kind of house. Like, I don't think it was like that. And he was like, no, Kelsey, that's all I remember. And And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I just like imagined it or something. I don't know what I thought in the moment. I was like 9 or 10, and I was trying to figure out what exactly it was. And he ended up kind of just giving me the cold shoulder. So I was like, whatever, it's fine. It is what it is. So I ended up moving on a little bit longer. We had moved. Okay, sorry. He ended up moving out. Sorry, I totally forgot that there's a big part that I'm missing. He ended up moving out of our house when he was 16 to live with my grandparents. I'm not going to go into depth about that story. That's not my story to share. But when he moved out of our house, one thing that I will share is how much our family changed for the positive side. When he moved out, we knew that he was safe at my grandma and grandpa's house. We knew that he had someone to watch him and he would be okay. And so my parents went through like his stuff when he moved out. He was only able to take so much because he was going on a bus ride. So they went through his stuff, and he had like journals of his life, or that he would keep, I guess. And these journals, one journal specifically contained to how much hatred he had towards me. And that hurt. Especially when I think about it now, to think how much hatred he had for me. And even after everything that he's done to me, I don't think I have as much hatred as he wrote in that book. And so it kind of hurt to know that after everything, and I always stood up for my brother at family events, or even still, not still today, but for a long time I stood up for my brother for, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say, he's where he is right now, it's fine. And to know that through all of that, he just wrote hatred stories about me kind of just hurt me a little bit. So fast forwarding a little bit, I would go to Reno, Nevada for the summer for about 4 weeks. And that's where he lived. He lived with my grandparents in Reno, Nevada. And we wouldn't see him like every single day, but we probably saw him once a week. So I'd probably see him about 4 times while I was there. And I never really, at this time, I wasn't having nightmares, or I wasn't having any flashbacks. So it seemed like I had this really close brother that I was getting closer to and closer to. No bad ever happened. He would take me out to lunch. He would buy me stuff, like nothing out of the normal. So those summer vacations, I think I did it for 3 summers in a row where I'd go there. And nothing bad really ever happened. I don't ever remember him sexually harassing me again. I don't ever remember him speaking of it at those summers, but I just remember him being very, very nice. I never asked him about it. I never brought it up. Nothing. So those summer vacations happened, and I want to say the summer going into, I'd gotten done with 8th grade and I was going into freshman year. So that summer I didn't go to Reno, but I did go to Utah for a little bit. I don't think I saw him there. He lived in Colorado at the time. So that's when my flashbacks really started happening. I remember going to bed and just crying because I didn't know what was in my head. I didn't know what I was dreaming. I just remember it was very, very disgusting and very, very wrong. And it was of somebody on top of somebody doing things that they weren't supposed to be doing. But I just remember that I could never get it out of my head, and I needed to figure out what it was. As much as I didn't want to close my eyes and figure out what it was, that was the only way for me to get past it. As the dreams started happening more and the nightmares started to happen more, and I thought less about it, it all began to make sense that what happened to me actually did happen to me, and my brain was reliving it while I was sleeping. It was something that I didn't have control over. I know people say that they have control over their own dreams. I don't remember wanting to relive this. I don't remember wanting to have flashbacks of my brother abusing me. I don't. It's not something that I'm like, oh, let's rewatch this. No, like, I don't. Like, I don't believe that. And so I remember laying in bed, like, wanting to just scream on the top of my lungs because I couldn't handle it anymore. And I remember just wanting to sit there and cry, not wanting to close my eyes, because if I closed my eyes, I remembered it. And so that happened for about the whole summer. I wouldn't say it happened every single day, but it happened very often, more times than not. And my parents were on the opposite side of the house or apartment wherever we were living. And I just remember just hoping that they would not hear me because I didn't want to explain it to them. So at this point, I'm about to go into my freshman year of high school. It hasn't happened to me since I was 8 years old. It's been very positive ever since it's happened, and now I am in just this very, very ugly place in my life. I don't really know exactly what he did. I learned a little bit about sex ed in the 7th and 8th grade, but let's be honest, do we really pay attention to it in 7th and 8th grade? I mean, if you're really into that stuff, probably, but I really wasn't really into learning about that. So I didn't really pay attention. So I really didn't really figure out what was really going on in my head and what it really was called. Yes, did I know what sex was? Of course I knew what sex was, but did I know how to describe my brother sleeping, not sleeping, but being on top of me to my parents and being comfortable telling them that? What person is really? So I remember just being so fed up with not being able to sleep, not being able to go to bed and actually fall asleep, and having like rainbow and butterfly dreams. I missed that. I wanted these nightmares to go away. And I had walked over to one of my best friends in high school during lunch period, and I said, can I talk to you? Like, it is important. And I was just about to bawl my eyes out. And I went up to her and I just bawled my eyes out, and she's like, Kelsey, like, what is wrong with you? Because I'm not a crier. Like, this is probably the only thing in my life that I've cried so hard about, besides when I was a child. And I just cried about anything. She's like, Kelsey, like, you're like the strongest person that I know. Like, you don't cry. And I was like, I know. Like, this is how important it is. And I flat out told her I had never told anybody in my life what I'd been going through and what happened to me. And at that moment, she dropped everything that was in her head, and her main focus was about just helping me talk through it for a 45-minute lunch break. And that was something that I will never forget, that conversation, because it was one of the most special conversations that I've had with that person. And she has just been so helpful to me through my healing process. She's one of the people that I go to the most. She's not in my family circle, and so it's great to talk to someone that's not in your family circle. If you are going through this and it was someone from your family, I very highly suggest talking to someone that's not in your family, because they will not be biased to that person. They will listen to your side of the story. So I ended up, the nightmares went away. I was finally able to sleep, and I thought, was that all I had to do? Like, could I have done that 3 months ago when summer started? That's all I had to do. And it came back to me probably, I want to say March or April during that school year, during my freshman year, and I wasn't going through anything. I wasn't having nightmares, but my dad was in the car with me, and he said, "Hey, Kelsey, can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, what's up?" And he said, "So I've been talking to Ben lately." And I was like, "Oh, like we haven't talked to him in years." And he's like, "We're thinking about having him like come over and see him more. He moved to LA and he wants to kind of get back with us and have a good relationship with us." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Would there be anything that would stop you from wanting him to come over?" And I was like, "This is really, really weird. Like, why would you ask me? Like, why would I even have a say in that? If that's how you feel, then that's great." And he said, "Okay, cool." And that was the end of that conversation. So April, May happened, and one of our friends ended up getting engaged, and her wedding was the same weekend that I was going to be in Utah with my sister. And so my parents were going to come pick me up. We were going to go to this wedding, and we were going to go home. Last minute, my brother got invited to this family event in Utah, and he was welcome to tag along, come over if he could afford to come. So I was staying at my sister's house. It was summer going into my sophomore year, and my challenge that summer was to read the Book of Mormon. And I was finishing Personal Progress. If anybody doesn't know, on LDS, most people know them as Mormons. So I was trying to finish up my Personal Progress, or my honeybee or beehive. I forget what it's called. I forget. I was trying to do either one of those. And so I was reading the Book of Mormon, and I was trying to heal through reading the Book of Mormon because the nightmares had come back. And I was at my sister's house, and I really didn't want to feel like I had to cry and hide it from them because I was in their living room. So I was trying to live and help myself through reading the Book of Mormon. It really, really helped, just so you guys know. So just kind of giving myself like a keynote that if I ever have it, like I should go to the Book of Mormon. And I then so he ended up staying at the house that I was staying at as well. And this is where I get very, very emotional. And I might not show it in the video, but this was the very first time since he moved out, even when I was in Reno with him, this was the very first time that we were staying on the exact same roofs at the exact same time. And I will be honest, it scared the crap out of me. It scared me so bad to be under the same roof as him. And I try not to show any emotion to my family members because I just didn't feel like that was even the closest time to tell him that what happened, because he's already there. We don't need to fight about it. So I was kind of protecting my brother in a way, I guess you can say, through all of that. So I ended up just praying so hard that to get me through these 3 days with him, that nothing bad would happen, that he would not come into the living room. I remember being in the living room, and he was staying, my sister and my younger brother, the third child, lived together in Utah in the same apartment. And so the brother that did this to me was staying in the same room as my other brother. And I just remember crying, like quietly crying my eyes out, like ugly Kim Kardashian crying. And I remember just hoping and praying that he would not come out and talk to me or do anything bad to me. I literally would cry myself to sleep, just hoping that would not happen. Of course it didn't. We were in a very close walled apartment. If he would have done that, it would have been noticeable. And so I was just really, really praying and hoping. Um, Also, during that week, I remember my parents needed to have a talk with the two siblings that were living together, and so they told us, Kelsey, go swimming with Ben, and I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are killing me. And I just remember like preparing myself while I was getting ready to go swimming. I was like, please just do not do anything to me. Like, I just remember praying so hard that the next hour and a half of swimming, like, I wish I would not be harmed. There were so many people in the pool, like, I was like, okay, well, nothing can possibly happen. But you just always worry that something could happen, I guess you could say. And so, we ended up going to the wedding. We ended up all going our separate ways home, and I got through the weekend. I'm not sure how I did it, but I did it. I then went into high school my sophomore year, and I literally just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle keeping it from my parents. I was in such a dark place that I had never been in before. And when I say I've never been in it before, I didn't reach my rock bottom. I did not at that point. I reached it enough to tell my parents, but this won't be my darkest moment. So I just want you guys to know that. So I then told my parents. I finally confessed, and I said, what, I've been keeping this a secret for so long. So I told my mom privately, not with my dad. I told her, and she was just like shocked. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to react. I think she hugged me. I hope she hugged me. I remember crying and being shaken by it. I wasn't brave enough to tell my dad what happened. I didn't know how he would react, and I just didn't want that to happen. So about a few days later, my mom finally talked to him about it, and he was having a few bad days at work. So I think we tried to wait till he was like in a happy mood to tell him. I remember them coming out from their room, and my dad was like, hey, Kelsey, can we talk to you? And I was like, oh, crap. There's the talk. So we had talked about it, and my dad had told me that my brother confessed to him a few months earlier. And that's why the conversation in the car happened. That was my moment to confess. That was my moment to say what happened. Because I didn't say anything, my dad had thought I totally forgot about it, that I was so young that I didn't remember. And I do I regret not saying that I did? No, I don't. Do I wish I would have? Yeah, but I don't regret it. And even in the moment I didn't. But my dad was just so caring and so nice about it. Little did my dad know how much he did to me at that moment. He just figured it was very, very light. He didn't realize for how long it went on. He didn't know how bad it was. He didn't know what he actually did to me. My brother made it sound very more glorious than what it really was. So the more that I talked to my dad about it later on, the more he was shocked as I told him more. So I didn't open up with my dad until I was a senior in high school about what really, really happened. So after I told my parents, it got a lot better. My parents said if I ever needed therapy, that they would help me get a therapist, and we would go that route. The whole of my high school career, I never felt like I needed one, so I never got a therapist until later on, after high school. So I then went into my junior year, and I still wasn't really, I was totally fine. I was happy as far as I wasn't having the nightmares. When I really hit, I'll just fast forward to rock bottom. When I hit rock bottom, I had what I thought was a dream, like a fairy tale senior year. I had a great group of friends. I was talking to this guy that I liked. And I just felt like I really had, like, I was going to go into my end of my senior year and just, like, knock it out with, I finally was happy with the friends that I had. And I just felt like I was really, really living a fairy tale, I guess. So my mom ended up, we had to move to Arizona a few days after graduation. No, not big. I'm very used to moving. I can handle moving, but I remember being on spring break and telling this guy that I was in a relationship that I was moving. And I was really, really bummed. I had never been in such, what I thought was such a great relationship with somebody. And what we thought we could work it out, we didn't. I ended up going on a cruise and I was like, this is great. I'm going to go on this cruise. It was my graduation present. And we are going to have some time apart and this will really help things. Little did I know that it would actually make things worse. So I ended up losing him as a friend at the time. And I ended up losing one of my best friends at the time as well. I'm not going to really go into depth with that story because that's not really has to do with my sexual abuse story. But it does have a lot to do with part of it and why I hit rock bottom so hard. So I felt like I was living this fairy tale my senior year, and I felt like I had this guy and I had best friends, and one day it just all washed away where I would walk into school and I literally would walk in at the last minute because I didn't have any friends to sit with. I didn't have any friends to talk to in classes because all those friends were friends with the person that I was majorly friends with, and they were acquaintances. And I'm not the person to just go out and make friends. I'm not. That's not my personality. As much as people think that I'm so outgoing and so friendly, I am very, very shy when it comes to meeting new people. I open up pretty well, but at first I have a hard time. So yeah, that happened. And I ended up getting friends. I was in yearbook and I just became friends with everybody in that class, surprisingly, that everyone even liked me enough to talk to me. I still was the new girl. I wasn't the new girl. There was a lot of other kids that joined, but for the most part, I moved my senior year. I didn't really have a lot of friends to begin with, and so when I lost my group of friends, that hurt, I ended up getting a job as well, and so that really did help that I had a lot of time away from thinking that I had no friends. So I had work. I worked 4 hours a day after school, and it really got my mind off of things. So there was this sex scandal that came out in the media. I'm not sure if you guys know about it, but it had to do with the Duggars family. And that hit me so hard to know that somebody, I know that they weren't in the fame when it happened, but that somebody that is in such a spotlight, the same exact thing happened to me. And I don't think that I relate them to my story, but I just took it so personal that something else just like my story happened to somebody else out there. That at that time I realized that I'm not the only person that's brother has sexually abused him. And I really thought about it. And the more that I thought about it, the more depressed I got that this actually happens to girls. And it began to the point where I would close my eyes and my flashbacks would come back. And I had really, really hard nights. Our house was very, I guess you could say, like soundproof. So when I cried, my parents didn't hear me. My mom was away on business a lot. At this time, my dad traveled with her. They would go, I think they went on a few cruises, and my dad would go with her sometimes. And so I was home alone a lot. So there was times where I was able to cry and scream in my house alone. And that's what I did. I had a really, really hard time. And from April to graduation, it was so hard on me. And there are some people that know that I went to school with. They know what I was going through. They knew what happened to me, but they didn't know how bad I was. They didn't know that I would cry myself to sleep, and I'd only probably get 2 hours of sleep. And then I'd have to go to school, and I'd fall asleep in my last period class because I was so tired, I was so exhausted. My teachers had no idea what I was going through. I was getting straight A's. I did my homework, I did my classwork, I turned everything in on time. I was a straight A student. I graduated with a 4.0. I was a great student. And I fell asleep in classes. My grades dropped a little bit, but nothing too bad. But on the outside, I looked like a successful student, I guess you could say. I did everything that I was asked. I turned in all of my yearbook stuff right. In anybody's eye, nothing like this would have shown what I was going through. The person that I showed to people was not the person that I was living behind doors. I then kind of confessed on how bad I was dealing with this with my parents, and they kind of had an idea on how bad it got. And they were there for me. They said, if you're ever going through something and you want to talk, you can come to us. They were very, very nice. And I was still living in Southern California. We hadn't moved yet. I hadn't graduated yet. And they said, if you feel like you need to see a therapist, let us know. We will. And at that point, we were only going to be there for like a month and a half, so I didn't really see a point in getting settled into a therapist and then moving. I didn't see the point of that. And at that time, I was also going through medical treatments, as far as I had cysts on my ovaries as well. And so I was also like depressed because of all these like medicines that they had me on and all these doctors that I was going to, and how scared I was that I was going through this. And it was just really, really hard. I just lost all my friends. I was going through nightmares with my brother that I couldn't get out of my head, and then I had medical issues. I just am not like a medical issue kind of person. And so it was just so much on me, and I was so depressed. And so when I graduated and I moved to Arizona, one of my very first priorities was getting a therapist and figuring out what I can do to change this around. So I did that, and honestly, if I can tell anybody that's watching this that has gone through the same thing, go see a therapist. I regret not going to a therapist so much sooner. A therapist is someone that's not in your family that's going to listen to you. I mean, they get paid to listen to you, but they put in so much time to you. They help you. They talk you through it. As much as you don't want to talk about it, talking about it was something that I never did. All I would do was close my eyes and I was crying. That was how I healed. And it never worked for me. It never worked for me. And the second that I started talking it out, what I would do in my therapy is I had these 2 vibrating buzzers in my hand. And I was supposed to close my eyes for 60 seconds and think about a trigger. And my trigger was the word Ben. And she said, okay, think about the word Ben and tell me in 60 seconds what you saw. And I would do that for an hour. Was it complete misery? Yes. But I learned so much from it. I grew so much from it. I healed from it. It was the best thing ever. I don't ever regret going to therapy. As much as, like, yeah, it's embarrassing to say that you've been to therapy and that you had to have a therapist to help you, I don't regret it. It's the best thing ever. So I ended up ending therapy because I was moving back to California to live with my sister. A few months, or a month, about 3 weeks before I moved back to California, we had a family event in Lake Tahoe, and it involved my grandparents. It was their 50th anniversary. My aunt's family, so she has 2 sons, and then my family. And so it was me, my sister and her family, and then my brother, the third child. And the only grandkid that didn't show up was my brother that did it to me. And that weekend hurt me so bad, as much as I tried to show it that I didn't, because it was such a memorable time that we were trying to have. My grandpa was, he had cancer, and it was the last family event that we knew that we would have together. I know they were celebrating their 50th anniversary, and I knew that I had to put on a happy face. But the entire time, it seemed like that's all I could hear was, oh, I wish we could be taking these pictures and Ben was in it. Or I wish Carson was here, that's his son. And I wish that we'd have all the great-grandchildren. And nobody knew in my family. My sister didn't know, my brother didn't know. The only people there that knew were my mom and my dad. And I said, if Ben shows up, I'm leaving. I'm gone if Ben is here. Or if Ben comes, I'm not going. And I was so tired of hearing his name, because nobody knew there how much his name is a trigger to me. Nobody knew what I was going through. Nobody had the sense to know. I didn't give them the opportunity to know. And so I was just really, really hurt. And I knew that it was my fault because nobody knew. And it was something that I was keeping in. So we ended up going home, and I told my aunt. I wanted to tell her in person, so I told her when we got back to her house in Reno what had happened. Whenever I tell someone, I don't tell them what he fully did to me. I just say he abused me sexually from the age of 5 to 8, and I don't talk to him for this reason, and he's just a very disgusting man. That's basically, I mean, depending on who you are and how close I am with you, maybe I'll go in a little bit more, but I don't really go more than that. So she was pretty shocked when I told her. I went home and I told my siblings, my sister that I was moving in with, and then my brother. They were pretty shocked. I remember my sister, she asked if I was suicidal. I do understand that people that go through this, they do get to that point. I did not ever get to that point where I was suicidal. I remember the thought maybe came into my head, but I never ever came close to even planning a suicide. It was just a thought one day, nothing more than that. So my brother, he was caring about it. My brother, he still talks to my other brother, and that's his decision. I don't hold that against him. I just say that I just prefer not to hear about it. That's it. And they're all pretty well aware of that. So I think my mom told my grandma for me because I could not bear to tell her that. So I'm going to share something very, very personal. I mean, what more personal can I share with you? I sent my brother Ben a text message October of 2015. And just know that I'm going to cry while reading this, but I think it has a lot to do with me for closure. So let me go to it real quick. For some weird reason, I've kept it. It's the very last message on my phone, but I never deleted it. So I ended up getting his number from somebody, and I texted him, and I said, "Hey, is this Ben?" And he's like, "Who is this?" And I said, "It's Kelsey. I have been seeing a therapist for a while because of what happened, because of what you did to me. This literally has been the hardest thing in my life. I'm done keeping it a secret. I have started to tell family. I don't really care how you feel about this. It's not fair what you did to me. It's not fair how you lied what you were doing to me. It's not fair how you treated me. You did something to me that was a horrible act, and when I was only 5 years old. How could an older brother do that to his 5-year-old sister? Did you just wake up one day and say, I think I'm going to have sex with my sister? My 5-year-old sister. Did you ever think how it could mess with me? For me, I've had nightmares to the point where I couldn't close my eyes at night and I would fall asleep in class. I've cried myself to sleep endless nights, and I don't think you will understand how much I stood up for you whenever someone in the family was talking negative about you. But do I care? No. I don't want to hear your name, because if I hear your name, guess what I think of? I'm pretty sure I've lost every good memory of you, because my head, I will always have the most disgusting, horrible picture of you on me naked. But I do want one answer. Why did you do it? Truth. Stop lying and stand up for what you did. I didn't cry as much as I thought I would. I read that the other day, trying to plan what I was going to talk about in this video, and I cried so hard while reading that. So he replied back within 10 minutes, and he said, hold on, I gotta really be prepared for this. Okay. I wanted to feel in control. I was a teenager and I had sexual urge. I know me saying sorry means nothing, but I am, and I do have fears about it too. Just like you, I do live it every day. There is not a day that goes by where I don't get sick about it. And because I feel horrible about it, I have thought about ending my life, but I can't. So I guess if you decide to take legal action on it, I will plead guilty for all of it. And I replied back to this. Thank you for the truth, although the truth does hurt to say and hear. Thank you for saying it. I do not wish for anyone to kill themselves over this. It was a horrible action, and I don't see myself taking you to court, but just know that I have told family, and not everyone, but I just can't keep it to myself. It's been hard the last few years, but I've chosen not to talk to you, so don't blame anyone else. Why, that is my choice. That is the last time I've talked to him. After that, I decided to change my life. I felt like I was still living in my past. Felt like I was still living in something that happened to me years ago. I felt like I was letting it define me. And I just wanted to change my life. So at the beginning of the year of 2016, I decided that this would be my year. 2015 ultimately sucked for me. I was so miserable. I was depressed. More cries than I think a newborn child had that year. And I decided I would change how I was thinking. And I was 2016, although it was a great year, I still think I will have better years than 2016. I decided to get a new Instagram and make it a lot more positive. I changed my hair in 2016. I had really dark hair 2015, so I decided to change my hair. I got blonde. I treated myself more often. I splurged a little bit more to make myself feel prettier. I made 2016 just the year where it was about me. And it was a great year. It helped me so much. I still struggled. I had my days. 2016, I got a great job. I moved to Texas. I ended up moving back in with my family. 2016 was a great year now that I look back at it. But what I want you to know, that if you are going through something like what I did, and you were in such a negative spot, you are amazing. You are beautiful or handsome if you're a guy. You are a child of God. You need to talk to someone. If you want to talk to someone, you can talk to me. But somebody that I super suggest talking to is talking to a counselor. Talking to someone that knows how to heal, like they helped heal me. I went through something horrible that no person should ever go through. And I learned that there are very bad people in this world. And there's going to continue to be bad people. And it's going to continue to happen to girls. What has happened to me. Just know that you were loved. You won't think in the moment that you are loved because of something that's happened to you. But although that one person did it to me, I have a humongous family support behind me. I have amazing friends that listen to me when I need to be listened to. I have amazing nieces and nephews that love me and send me daily videos to make my day. I have amazing people that I constantly text that know when I text them that I just need to hear positive words. You are loved. No matter how bad of a place you live in, there's someone out there that loves you. And whether you need to get on your knees and pray as hard as you can to find that person, do it. God has someone for you. You may not be in the right place right now, but God has somebody for you. You were chosen. You chose to come to earth and live this life. Don't live where you can get harmed. I am Kelsey Miles. I have been a victim of sexual abuse by my brother at the age of 5 to 8. I am 19 right now, and I have the best support team, and it's because I've let them in. If you need a support group, you have to open up. You have to. I always wish that someone would come to me, but they don't know what you're going through until it happens, until you say something. And I really hope that that person that you go to is someone that will listen and that will make a change in your life. I just want to thank you for watching this, if you watched it. And if you know someone that is going through something or that has gone through this and they need a little bit of a positive, tell them to watch this video. I know the whole thing wasn't really positive, but I think I have a really great ending story. I would have not changed it for the world. And I cannot thank anybody more that I involved in this story, that you were a sunshine in my life. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me. And this is my story.